2 of my 100 Victorian novels, but it should be 100 Victorian books rated. So now we're on to books 90 through 81. Here we go. I'm just waiting. I know there's going to be like a favorite of somebody's on this list. Sorry. Okay, first is The Making of a Marchioness by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I do not love this book. This is number 90, and it is number 90 because, well, for several reasons. One, it is 2 books. Like, Persephone is bounded up as 2 books, and the 2 books feel completely different. Like, they're by different authors, and I think if you're writing a sequel to something, that doesn't work for it to feel like it's a totally different genre. The first book is very much the like Cinderella story, where she's this hardworking maid and this knight in shining armor who is this wealthy man sweeps her off her feet and marries her and gives her an entirely new life. But she's boring. Like, she's a very boring character, and that is my complaint in a Cinderella retelling, when Cinderella is boring, because she doesn't have to be, and she's not. If you read, primary source materials of Cinderella, she's not. And she's boring in this. And then in addition to that, the second book, it was so pulpy. Like, by the time I came up for air, I was kind of like, that was such a good book, because it felt super exciting and twisty-turny. But then after I went to like my book club discussion of it, I was like, I really don't think it's as good as I thought it. Once people brought up these flaws, and I think if it's a book that you really truly love, you'll hear all the flaws that could be valid that people bring up about it, and you're like, I see all that, but I still love it. Kind of like Jane Eyre. Like, I see what you're saying, the flaws that it has. I still love it though. But I came out of it being like, oh yeah, it has that and that. And also, once I had come off the high of all the twisty-turny, I was left flat, kind of like, why did I get so invested in this? I don't know, just characters that I was not that drawn to. So unfortunately, it just did not hit the mark for me. Then The Sign of 4 by Arthur Conan Doyle. Arthur Conan Doyle, I'm sorry. I get, you pave the way in the detective genre, but just Sherlock Holmes books do not deliver for me. The short story collections slightly more, but they are just so puzzly, and like, I don't care about train tables and saying, all of the times that someone could have arrived somewhere. I don't care. Like, that is the work that you do, and you just let me get to know characters. And so, unfortunately, The Sign of 4, number 89, it was a miss for me. Then we have back-to-back 2 Wilkie Collins. Number 88 would be No Name. And this book started off with a lot of potential, where there is a married couple, something happens with their inheritance, and you see the way their 2 daughters react to it with their vastly different personalities. And so you follow the 2 sisters, but one of them you follow for most of the time. And I wish Wilkie Collins had followed the other sister. That was the one that I was interested in. But instead you follow this sister that I was not as interested in, and didn't feel that motivated to know her. I just was not motivated to know her. So she just seemed very one-dimensional, and I just was not drawn into this. Then number 87 is Armadale. Just characters I wasn't drawn to. I'm very much a character reader, and this is about these 2 families that are related because of something, this big event that happens at the beginning. That's sort of this prologue to the book. And then the real events of the book kick off 15 years later, when there are certain characters that finally meet and interact with one another, and you're following their interactions, but you're also following this femme fatale, and I was not interested in her. Lydia Gwilt. I will not forget her name, though. Her name sticks with me. I was not interested in her. There just wasn't much that pulled me in about this. And, most books, if it's going to be like a 400-page book, you can kind of be more generous with your 3 stars. But since this was like 800 or 900 pages, I did not feel that generous. Okay, then coming in at number 86, unfortunately, I'm not happy about it, but that is Olive by Dinah Mullock Craik. And I know Katie from Books and Things I'm sorry. I know you love this book, and I wanted to love this book. But at the end of the day, I just think I don't get on with Dinah Mullock Craik's writing style. I think this is one where it had characterization and the plot was fairly interesting, but something about the way that she delivered it, it just felt like pulling teeth trying to read this book. And you know, like you cannot force loving an author's writing style. And I tried also reading John Halifax, The Gentleman by her, and I DNF'd that. So I think it's just her writing style. Unfortunately, I don't love it. I wanted to love her because I read about her as a person, Dinah Mullock Craik, and I was like, you are so interesting. I want to read your books. Fortunately, I don't love her. Okay, then number 85 is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. Such an iconic Victorian novel, like one of the most iconic Victorian novels. And this was one where I just didn't have any characters that I really cared about, except for Amelia. I was mildly interested in, but you really did not spend much time with her. So yeah, it just missed the mark for me. Did not love it, and it was a lot of soldiers. A lot of soldiers talking about going into war and things I'm just not interested in. Then number 84 is Zoe by Geraldine Jewsbury. And I bet I read this with Katie from Books and Things, and we were both kind of like, huh, like as we read it, because we both enjoyed the half-sisters. But this, I didn't really care about our main character of Zoe. She falls in love with a priest. So it sounded super interesting, right? Finding out about a character who falls in love with a priest, like what is going to happen there? But it was just the layout of the story. It felt very disjointed, and I don't know. I just did not feel motivated. And then number 83 is A Woman of No Importance by Oscar Wilde. Here's the thing with Oscar Wilde. I find his lack of sincerity in his stories, like he comes across as a very insincere writer. And so I just find it irksome. Like it makes me very sad for him. And I know he had a sad life. So and just by the virtue of his life, it makes sense that he would have lots of kind of insincere characters who are putting on a facade. But it just drains me to read him. So he's very funny. He's very witty. And I know he's making more commentary on society at large, but I just feel really sad when I read him. And that's not how I like to feel when I read. That's not why I read, actually. Or that's not why I read, I was saying specifically. Anyhow, moving on to number 82. Gotta include a Dickens, right? And it is Little Dorrit. So I didn't dislike it as much as the other Dickens that were on, numbers 100 through 91. But this is definitely a Dickens I will not be returning to. And, his longer books, if I like it, they don't feel long. This felt incredibly long. And also, Mr. Dorrit just kind of ruins the book for me. You know how sometimes there are these detestable characters and you can kind of like, just be like, you're not going to ruin the book for me, but he basically ruins the book for me. Something about him, I don't know, just he's incredibly selfish and self-involved, and he just really, I did not like him. And then lastly, number 81, and it does make me sad. This is so low down, but a reader's heart knows, and that is Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. This book started out with so much potential, and the two main female characters and their friendship, I did really enjoy the scenes that they were in, but at the end of the day, Charlotte Bronte's writing style in this, I mean, it just feels like a different author than the person who wrote Jane Eyre. It really troubles me how much, like, I love Jane Eyre. Why can't I love Villette and Shirley that much? But you just can't force it. So the chapters that are our two main characters together, I love those chapters. But there actually are not that many of those. And it is a historical novel, so she's doing lots of commentary on events at the time. And even best case scenario, it's really hard for me to enjoy historical fiction. There are some authors out there that can do it, but Charlotte Bronte is just a bit too cerebral for me. So yes, those are books 90 through 81. So we're getting more to we'll be getting more to happier days with my Victorian rating. I hope that you are enjoying this series. Let me know if these are some that you liked or you agree with me on how low down in the ranking some of them are. And I will be back with another video soon. Bye.